We read at the beginning of the portion of Shmini how on the 8th day of the inauguration of the Mishkan, when Aaron and his sons were installed to be Kohanim on a permanent basis, Nadav and Avihu, Aaron's two eldest sons, they were the most special Jews after Moshe and Aaron in terms of leadership and future potential. The Torah says they had brought a strange fire, an alien fire. And after they had brought the alien fire, they were struck down by God. And there's an argument how they actually died. Were their bodies incinerated, or the two threads of fire enter into the nostrils? And this is how they met their end. Their souls were actually burnt out of them. There's a discussion, what exactly did they transgress? Did they officiate after they had drunk wine, which a Kohen is not permitted to, his service is not valid, and because they officiated in this drunkard state, therefore they were struck down by God? Or was it because they had ruled regarding the sacrifice of the incense offering without consulting with Moshe, which one has an obligation to consult with the teacher, and one is not permitted to rule independent of the teacher, therefore they deserve to die. After they are struck down, and they were young boys, they were between the ages of 13 and 14, the two of them. Nevertheless, their future was very great, was very special. Moshe says to his brother Aaron, I knew somebody was meant to die on the day of the inauguration of the temple or of the Mishkan, because God had said, with those who are closest to me, I will be sanctified, meaning the lives of those who are closest to me will be taken, and through that, my name will be sanctified. Initially, I thought, Moshe says, it would have been myself or yourself to be taken. But now that I see that they were taken, that's an indication that they are greater than we are. The question is, how by taking the life of a special person, how is that a sanctification of God? So Rashi cites the Midrash that if a person who is sin-free, but he has a slight blemish on his record, God takes that person because he had failed. So if nearly the perfect is taken, that is God's retribution. So a person who's far from perfect, there's no question he will be taken. When Aaron hears this, that his children are more special, they have a certain aspect of themselves more special than he and Moshe, he remained silent, which was considered something special. A father losing such two special children, not to ask the question why, but to remain silent, this is a special merit for Aaron, that he was able to remain silent. But the question is, why did he remain silent? So the Sephardo explains that what Moshe had said to him was the greatest consolation. He was consoled that his children were the object of the ultimate sanctification of God's name. That death may have had greater value than their lives. Therefore, he was consoled, and therefore he remained silent. He understood the value of the loss. As we said, sometimes the loss is greater than the gain. And in this situation, the gain is Kiddush Hashem, is God's name being sanctified. The loss is only their lives. Therefore, that's why Aaron remained silent. We read at the time of the giving of Torah at Sinai, Nadav and Avihu and the elders, God's presence was so obvious and blatant. They looked directly and they gazed upon the divine presence, what is called the Shekhinah. In truth, They abashedly looked at the Shekhinah without any degree of humility, which was considered a claim against them. Because of this display of lack of reverence, they all deserve to die. So why did God not take him at that moment? Because this would have undermined the joy of the giving of Torah, and God did not want that this tragedy of their demise, Nadav and Avihu and the 70 elders, to interfere with the joy of the receiving the Torah at Sinai. So he delayed the retribution of Aaron's children until now. And therefore, they had this blind spot. They had made a mistake. But why did God allow them to make that mistake? Because ultimately, the divine retribution had to take place at this moment. But what has to be taken to note is they sinned at a certain level. They're punished. Divine retribution is actually implemented. But what is the value of the divine retribution? The ultimate level of Kiddush Hashem, of God's name being sanctified. That there will be the object, the lesson to be learned, that God's judgment is perfect and exacting. However, the 70 elders who were punished, later when they were in the desert, the Torah tells us that the rabble desired meat and there was a fire that consumed them. During that conflagration, not only were the rabble consumed, the 70 elders who had gazed upon the divine presence at Sinai, they were also consumed at the same time. What is the value? Other than divine retribution, what was the gain other than being atoned? They were just basically punished. We see the difference between Aaron's children, Nadav and Avihu. Although it was divine retribution for not having sufficient reverence at Sinai, but the punishment what is implemented, it was within the context that they were beneficiaries to be the object of the ultimate Kiddush Hashem, which was not the case with the 70 elders.